Coming up, Debbie and I are going to do our Friday roundup, and we got a wide range of topics from the big, beautiful bill to the new American dream, the Supreme Court and deportations, keeping foreign students out of the country. Is that a good idea? The politics of Bruce Springsteen and his so-called resistance music, and also whether Derek Chauvin is a good guy. Hey, if you're watching on YouTube, X or Rumble, watching or listening, on Apple or Spotify, please subscribe to my channel. Hit the subscribe, follow, or the notifications button. This is the Dinesh D'Souza podcast.
America needs this voice. The times are crazy. In a time of confusion, division, and lies, we need a brave voice of reason, understanding, and truth. This is the Dinesh D'Souza podcast.
Lots happening this week, and a lot for Debbie and me to talk about. I thought we'd begin, honey, with this whole question of the big, beautiful bill, the fact that it doesn't really make a dent, at least not a serious dent, in spending. The fact that, at least as of now, these Doge cuts have not been codified into law. Elon Musk, somewhat disappointed, is retreating from the scene, going on to other projects. This, I think we both know, is kind of a systemic problem. We were talking about it this morning and talking about what the root of the problem is. And I think the root of the problem is just that we are spending a couple of $1 trillion more than we take in. Mm-hmm. You know, you think in any responsible family, you'd be like, okay, listen, I make, $80,000, I make $120,000. So that establishes a cap on what I can spend. That's it. Unless I have savings I can draw on. But if I'm in debt, the last thing I want to be doing is adding more. Mm-hmm. So we were talking about why this is the case and what is the problem here? Is the problem that the Trump administration doesn't have a heart for real budget cuts? Is it that the congressmen are the obstacle? Or ultimately is the problem, the voters, the American people? And I think we both think at some level it is, in the end, the recipients of these benefits who have gotten, as you say, used to them.
Right. Well, you made the point of a responsible parent, right? Saying, I don't want these credit card bills. I'm going to pay them down. I'm not going to buy anything until I have the money to pay it off at the end of the month, that kind of thing. But that same family, when they had children, the mom started giving the baby candy, right? Sugar.
Give the kids whatever they want.
Whatever they want, right? And then when they get to about 2 or 3, the pediatrician goes, listen, your child is obese. You're going to have to cut that candy out, right? So what does she do? She's like, well, I guess maybe I'll start giving him broccoli. So you give your kid broccoli after you've been giving him candy all these years. Do you really think that kid is going to throw a tantrum or, okay, Mom, I'll eat the broccoli? No.
Right.
Throw a tantrum. So the American people are throwing a tantrum anytime any kind of entitlement is threatened to be taken away, right? And so the Republicans don't want to be seen as the bad guy. It's like the mom doesn't want to be seen as the bad parent, right? You do it, so the dad does it. And then the kid hates the dad. It's like, you're a terrible dad. Whatever.
As you know, I've been doing my Reagan book on the podcast. And in some ways, this is the dilemma that Reagan confronted, which was that the Democrats were the party of Santa Claus. And the Republicans, the party of Scrooge.
That's right.
Right? And what would happen is Democrats would go, we got this for you and this for you and this for you. And Republicans would go,
we're taking this away.
We need to have fiscal responsibility.
Exactly.
We're going to need to raise your taxes.
Exactly.
And so Reagan realized, it's no surprise Republicans have been losing elections from 1932 to 1980 because who wants Scrooge when you can have Santa Claus, right? And in some ways, that problem is with us today. Here we go, fast forward 50 years later.
So I would argue that it's even worse.
It's
even worse than it was even then. Because number one, there's more entitlements. There's more people wanting the entitlements. And then, we do have a whole slew of illegals getting those entitlements. And until we deport them all, they're still continuing to get them, right?
Right.
So we have that problem on top of the other problem.
And then not to mention the fact that whenever something goes on for a longer duration, it not only becomes a lifestyle, it becomes intergenerational. I mean, you've got families that have been on welfare now, since the 60s and 70s.
Their grandparents.
Right. This is the way of life.
Right.
And that's how mom did it and her mom
Right.
before her. And then, my daughter is heading in the same direction.
Right.
So, and we also want to be clear that we're talking about entitlements that are not just, quote, for the poor or Social Security, Medicare. We're talking about giveaways at every level. People who are tapping into, I'll give a small example of this. Apparently, under Obama, they started this program in New York where if you stay at home and take care of an elderly parent, you get some sort of a subsidy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there were something like 25,000 people who did that.
Mm-hmm.
Guess how many people there are now on that program? Like
More?
650,000.
Uh-oh.
So from 25,000 to 50 to 90 to 150. And pretty soon people realize,
And I'm guessing these people didn't tell the government when their parent passed away.
well, that, and not to mention, they don't even know if you have a parent. I mean, I'm sure that there's no monitoring system that consistently makes sure, as this guy would know, it's just you go fill out some forms, you qualify for the program. Once you qualify, you basically can never get off of it.
Right.
And so, and then what I find so disheartening is think of what this does to people's character. You're a slug, you don't work. Or you don't work, you don't support yourself.
Why do you want to work if you get more money not working?
Right. This ultimately is the big question. This question was not really a question during FDR's own time because the programs were modest. But starting, I think, with LBJ and the 60s, this is basically a creation of the boomers.
Mm-hmm.
In the 1960s, this whole idea you have an illegitimate kid, you get welfare. You have 2, you get more. You have 3, you get even more.
Mm-hmm.
This perverse system that causes people, or someone who says, hey, listen, I can get, I had an accident, I was on disability, but now I'm perfectly fine. But nevertheless, I am somewhat obese. And so I can get $2,500 if I continue to collect disability. Now, I might be able to make $3,000 if I work. But it's not worth the difference. I have to get up every day. I've got to get dressed.
Yeah, there's
I
no
can just
incentive.
sit at home, collect my $2,500, and
Not to mention get unhealthy, get really big, fat, and then claim another disability on top of that, and then just get diabetes, get all kinds of things. So then now you're even more of a burden.
Because you're
on
now
the state.
tapping into a itself bloated
It
and
is.
wasteful healthcare system that is also ripping off the taxpayer. So the looting, we talk about the looting in DC, and that is the worst. And it's setting a bad example. But there is a lot of looting, and I'm using the term looting here in the context that Ayn Rand used it.
Mm-hmm.
She basically said a looter is someone who recognizes an opportunity
and
to reach into somebody else's pocket. Now, not directly, but through the government. The government is basically the facilitator of the looting and is, in fact, the chief instrument of it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk about the homeless. You and I were in California. We had a really nice, it's our old stomping ground, the northern San Diego area. We went to a couple of our favorite restaurants. We went to the restaurant of the guy who catered our wedding. It was really nice. I mean, wow, 10 years later, this guy is flourishing. He's got one of the chic restaurants in northern San Diego. And so we had a lot of fun. I did a speaking event, which was also cool. But in that speaking event, somebody asks, they go, and I think this is interesting, right? You have these very successful guys, Young Presidents Organization, YPO. They live in California. They deal on a regular basis with the homeless.
Yeah.
Right? They see them everywhere. They're all over LA. They're all over, not only LA and San Francisco, they're over some of the smaller cities. You find them in Fresno. You find them in Yorba Linda. And so the question to me was, like, where are these homeless people like coming from? And it was asked in all sincerity. So right away, I mean, that alone is so striking to me. You've got smart people, they're in the area, they see the problem, and yet they're so focused on their business, on their successful enterprise, that they have to ask in a wide-eyed way, like, where are all these people coming from? Now, you and I know where they're coming from. So where are they coming from?
Well, as you know, most of them should be in insane asylums.
Or institutions of some sort.
Institutions of some sort, right?
Why?
And because they're crazy, most of them.
Yeah, or if
many
they're
of
not
them
crazy and
became
they don't think they're Napoleon Bonaparte, they're addicts.
Right.
Or they are alcoholics.
Right.
Or they are, I think this is also another possibility, they are so degenerate that their own families have locked the door on them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because think about it. When you're down on your fortune, you're in a bad situation, you know, let's say you're a gambling addict. You owe money, you need money. You go hit up your friends, you hit up your family. They try to help you, but at some point they realize
enough is enough.
Yeah, and that they're enabling you.
That's right.
So they're like, don't show up here anymore, right? That's how you end up, that you're cut off from all your human connections.
I think so. And you pointed out also that there's a big business, big industry in the homeless problem.
It's much bigger than the homeless.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have 25,000 homeless in San Francisco, you probably have 40,000 people servicing the 25,000. And think about it. For all those people, it is a loss. It is a defeat. They don't want these homeless people to get off the street. That's the last thing they want. They want to do everything to provide constant services. It's a little bit like if you're Catholic Charities, right? And your big source of income is coming from the illegals. Do you want the train of illegals to stop? No. You are basically paid per illegal, right? You've created a very flourishing business. It seems perverse to call it a business, but what else do you call it? These are industries. Abortion for Planned Parenthood is an industry, right? Illegals are an industry. The homeless are an industry. And so as long as the industry exists, in my view, we'll never end homelessness because the industry is actively working to prevent it.
Right. Well, also, though, coupled with that, as long as we think that these people shouldn't be in an institution, you know, you could team up with these industries and say, you know what, let's instead put them in an institution, get them off the streets.
Right.
But that's not being done either. So I think the poor man that asked you the question, he wanted a solution.
Right.
And I mean, there really isn't any.
Well, there really isn't any because, again, I think for a lot of these business guys, they think that the problem is not being solved because the bureaucrats are really well-intentioned. They're trying to remedy the problem, but the problem is proving intractable. No, they're not trying to remedy the problem. They could remedy the problem. Guess what? Even let's forget about the institutions. Let's say you just took the homeless budget. You took the number of homeless people and you divided the budget by the number of homeless people. I bet you will have plenty of money to put all these people in very clean, very nice rental apartments. Not only that, you could probably arrange food delivery for them. So these people would be living essentially not a luxurious, but a comfortable lifestyle in safe, clean surroundings. But the homeless industry will have none of it. Because if you do that, suddenly you don't need all the psychologists. You don't need all the social workers. You don't need all the crisis counselors. I mean, these homeless people are constantly fighting with each other. They stab each other occasionally. They harass people. And so, guess what? In the cities of San Francisco now, they don't want the cops to come. Right? So they hire these nonprofit organizations to do
the policing, right?
They do, right.
The
it's not real
workers.
policing,
No,
right?
it's social workers.
Yeah, and there's no evidence these people do anything anyway. They just go, "What's going on here? Why are you two people fighting? Okay, you go over there, you go over there."
Yeah, no.
10 minutes later, after the guy leaves, they're fighting again.
Yeah.
So this is basically social policy a la the Democrats, right? This is what they do. And they don't think it's bad because they're creating jobs.
They destroy so much. I mean, on
They're
so
termites.
many levels.
Yeah, these are
many levels.
Yeah, no, totally. And look, I mean, the sad thing is they somehow, and this is maybe the saddest part of it, they've got a system in which people vote for them, right? I mean, they continue to stay in power. California continues to be a one-party state. Larry Krasner, the Soros-style DA, was just reelected in the Philadelphia area. So essentially what they've done is they have created this parasitic lifestyle. They obviously are the favorites of the criminals. And so they've got these leeches and criminals and bureaucrats all voting for them, and there are enough of those to carry the election. Yeah, you're right, and it's well, I call it the definition of insanity, right? Even the people that move to Texas or Florida from liberal states and they vote Democrat, it's like it's the definition of insanity, right? You do the same thing over and over again and expect a different outcome, and you get the same outcome. It's so like ridiculous on the face of it. I don't get it. I don't understand it. The Trump administration has their sleeves rolled up. They're streamlining some pretty big and monumental moves right now. But, it's difficult for them to take your personal finances into account when trying to fix the country. That's something you have to do. And that's why tens of thousands of Americans are acting. They're buying gold now from Birch Gold. Here are a few key facts. In the last 12 months, the value of gold has gone up 30%. I'm very happy about that. Central banks are buying gold in large quantities. That should tell you something. The Rio reset on the horizon, where BRICS nations are looking to unseat the US dollar as the global reserve. Hey, you can find peace of mind in gold. Birch Gold makes it extremely easy to convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold, or just buy some gold to store at home. Get started. Text Dinesh to 989898. Birch Gold will send you a free information kit on gold. There's no obligation, only useful information. Birch Gold has an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, thousands of happy customers. So go ahead, contact them, diversify your savings today. Text the word Dinesh to 989898. Most of us think of Medicare as something to be dealt with someday. That's kind of how I felt until recently. Hey, I'm 64 now, and the moment you hit that number, guess what? It begins. The mailers, the robocalls, the TV ads with actors you barely remember. None of it made any sense, and the more I looked into it, the clearer it became. This whole Medicare system is not really designed to be easy. That's why I turned to Chapter. They walked me through everything, no pressure, no sales pitch. Chapter is independent. Their advisors compare every Medicare option out there to help you save money and remove the stress, and all at no cost to you. So if you're turning 65, or even if you're over 65, do what I did. Call Chapter, get some peace of mind. Here's how you do it. Dial pound 250, and when prompted, say Dinesh. That's the pound sign, and then 250, keyword Dinesh. Don't let Washington or big insurance make this decision for you. Take control. Call Chapter today. That's pound 250, and when prompted, say Dinesh. Let's talk about the thumbnail for today's discussion is the idea of a new American dream. And that's something that you actually came up with, and it was in connection with an article that we were talking about regarding dual citizenship.
That's right.
Now, let's tell people what is dual citizenship.
Right. So dual citizenship is when you have two citizenships, basically. Either you're born in another country and you retain that citizenship, and then you come to America and get your citizenship there in America. And so then you have both that citizenship from the country you were born in plus America. Now, for me, because I was a citizen via my mother, because my mother was a U.S. citizen, my father was not. I was born in Venezuela, but I came to America when I was 10 with my mother, who was an American citizen. I was under the understanding that I still had the Venezuelan citizenship, plus the American
Because
citizenship.
you had a passport.
I had 2 passports, right? I'd go
Right.
to Venezuela on my Venezuelan passport. I'd come back to America on my American passport. Well, when I turned 18, I decided that that's not really what I wanted to do. I wanted to just retain my U.S. citizenship. But little did I know that in Venezuela, they don't honor a dual citizenship anyway. So I was not considered an American citizen.
From their point of view.
From their point of view. I was still a Venezuelan citizen. And later in life, it became a little dangerous for me simply because I was so anti-Venezuela government, anti-Hugo Chavez,
Outspoken.
Maduro, very outspoken, that I was just afraid that if I would ever step foot in Venezuela, I would get arrested, put in jail, no due process, because to them, I would have been seen as a enemy of the state, basically.
Yeah, right.
So I was like, yeah, I'm not going back to Venezuela. That's not happening. So anyway, but this Newsweek article, very liberal, by the way, it is basically saying that because of the situation, and notice how a lot of times they say the current situation because they want to blame it on Trump,
Right.
not the previous administration.
Right. So
or
Newsweek is
Obama.
suggesting that an increasing number of Americans are looking to become citizens of other countries.
That's right.
So this is in a way a softer version of the Hollywood people who say, I'm leaving America. And interestingly, a few of them, I mean, no more than 2 or 3, have actually they have left America, right? Isn't
Right,
Rosie
right.
O'Donnell
You're
living
right.
somewhere in Ireland or
Yeah,
something?
yeah.
1 or 2 others have done that. Most of them have not done it, right? I think the dual citizenship thing, first of all, is a major cop-out, because if America is so bad, why don't you just give up your American citizenship?
Yeah, that's right.
But these are people, they want to retain all the benefits of it,
Yeah.
but also then claim, well, as a result of Trump, I'm now also a citizen of some other country.
Right. But what they don't understand is that they're going to actually have to pay taxes in both countries. So that's a little loophole.
Yeah, some of these countries have treaties, so you don't end up paying the double taxation.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the reason we tied this to the American dream is part of what there is a bigger question here, and that is that the American dream, I think, is legitimately imperiled for many people.
Yeah.
This is just a reality we have to
Yeah.
accept.
Yep.
And a lot of people are blind to it because the American dream is not so opaque for them. But I was looking, for example, just at a couple of things, like the age at which people today buy their first house. So the age used to be around 30, and now it's around 40. Think about that. That means that there are many Americans in their 30s who just cannot afford to buy their own house.
Oh.
And that shows you that this is a real deterioration, because what is a bigger symbol of the American dream than I own my own home? Even if I have a mortgage, nevertheless, hey, guess what? I have a fence.
Mm-hmm.
I put a down payment. I'm working on my way to paying this off. It may take me a long time, but nevertheless, it's going to be mine.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have to wait till you're 40 to
Mhm.
even get started, it's a whole different picture.
Yeah.
The other thing is, the issue of how much money do you have to make to be able to enjoy the kind of lifestyle. Look, you and I started out really at the bottom of the ladder, right? When we graduated from college, we both were not only penniless, you owed a bunch of money. I owed a bunch of money.
I was in major
You
debt.
were in major debt. I owed a bunch of loans. So we were starting out like in the red, as they say,
Mhm.
right? But we were jaunty and confident and optimistic because we thought, hey, listen, we're going to get a job. We're going to work hard. We're going to have to be frugal, but we're going to start putting aside money. We'll be able to pay it on our loans. This is actually what I was able to do.
Mhm.
But the key point is I was able to do it. And not only, I went to Ivy League college and all this, but lots of other people who went all over the place were doing the same thing in one way or another.
Yeah.
And the fact that you don't see it as much today is a sign that the American dream is imperiled. It's in trouble.
Well, and it kind of goes back to what we started talking about, the entitlements, the value of the dollar, all those things, which are actually not really our fault. No.
So that's right. And young people, I think also, sometimes you and I, we kind of unload on Gen Z and so on.
Yeah.
But I think we have to remember that is a generation.
And I do it out of kindness, sweetness, and love.
well, we have Gen Zers all around us. I mean, we have Gen Zers who book guests on this podcast. We have Gen Zers.
A child?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, not a child anymore. 25.
Well, yeah, I thought you meant the grandchild. But the grandchild, 25. You know what they're called?
Yes.
What? Alpha.
Alpha and Omega.
Alpha?
Right?
Is it?
Wait. What's the one after Alpha?
Well, Beta?
Beta. So Winston is Beta. He's no longer Alpha.
So are you saying Marigold is the end of Alpha?
I believe so.
Interesting.
Yeah. I believe so.
And so we're now starting a new generation
not Omega. Yeah.
called Beta, apparently,
so.
or Omega, whatever.
Yeah. So anyway, but also the Gen Zers that can't afford houses are actually getting help from the parents. Like, I think that is a really big
right. And some of the
right
parents
now.
are like, this was not the way it was in my time. I guess what I'm doing is
know.
I'm taking the side of the Gen Zers and saying, listen.
It's not our fault.
Yeah, the Gen Zers are saying we are not facing the same situation that you did because you were making a lot less money. I mean, if I remember, my first job was unnaturally low paid. It was truly $14,500. I think you were making about twice as much.
I was.
At the same age. So, but nevertheless, the point is you could make $25,000, $30,000, let's just say in 1988 or 1989. And let's remember what things cost, what cars cost. What food cost, what gas cost.
Yeah.
You could actually get by, and then as your income went up, you really were able to put aside money to save money. Mm-hmm. Now, some people didn't save money, but that was their choice. Mm-hmm. But you could do it if you made the effort.
Yeah. I remember buying my very, very first car, was a used car. And it was actually, I made a deal with a friend. I bought it for $1,000.
Yeah, your Volkswagen.
My Volkswagen Beetle. Loved it. $1,000. Then my second car was a Hyundai. And that one, I want to say, was about $15,000 with sunroof.
Yeah, because your first car didn't have AC.
No, it had a little fan.
A physical fan.
A physical fan, tiny little thing under the dash, and it would blow hot air. But, I've always been very cold-natured, so I didn't really mind the heat and sticking to the back of the seat. It was like literally my sweat would stick to it. I didn't mind. But I know a lot of people would have been like, I don't think so.
Well, today this would be seen as so intolerable,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And unacceptable.
Yeah.
And this is part of the problem, is that when people think about what is the bare minimum today, I think one of the problems we have a kind of set of inflated expectations across the board. Just this morning I'm scrolling through on social media, and I see this woman, and she goes, we have a major problem in our society. She goes, the reason for this is that the average girl is like a 7 or an 8, but the average guy is like a 4. First of all, I look at this girl, I'm thinking, you are all made up. You have all this makeup on. You have lipstick. You've done your hair. So, okay, you're a 7. Are you a 7 without all that?
Honey.
No, honey, what I'm getting at, honey, no. Listen, here's what I'm saying.
You didn't go there.
No, I have to go there. Because here's what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is, I'm kind of speaking up for the boys. What I'm getting at is the average boy is, by definition, a 5. And the average girl also happens to be a 5.
Oh.
That's the point. That's how for centuries, if not millennia.
So now when I wake up in the morning, I'm going to go, does my honey think I'm a 7 or a 5?
Oh, honey,
depending on the makeup.
No.
I better cake on that makeup. I better cake
honey,
it on.
You are practicing the art of deflection and diversion
on
here.
Thursdays, I'm a 7, right?
Honey,
every other day of the week?
Honey,
Perhaps not.
no. No. This is not about the individual. It's not about you and me. It is about the fact
right.
that the human race has come this far for millennia because average boys and average girls have found each other acceptable, right? We all know that in any society, you have some beautiful people, you have some rich and famous people, and they end up with other beautiful and rich and famous people. That's just the way it is, right? But if you have a society where, let's just say, average girls only want the top 1 or 5% of boys, you see the problem right away, don't you?
I do see the problem, but I also blame it on social media. I blame it on social
Meaning?
media. I blame it on these influencers because all of a sudden these girls become popular on social media. They become influencers. And then they think they're too elevated for the normal guy.
But the problem is not the social media, I don't think. I think what it is it is the feminist indoctrination that tells these women, you're not a 5, you're a 10. In fact, you're an 11.
Yeah, but
you are what you think you are.
But they get this from social media.
Right. In other words, what happens is they find other people their own age who fill their mind with this kind of garbage. And so suddenly, let's just take the ordinary working class guy who puts in 10 hours a day, driving a truck or even working a white collar job. Suddenly that guy is like boring. That guy is like, well, he's nothing cool about him. He's not sensitive, or he's not this, or he's not that. Whereas, again, for centuries, girls and boys recognize, well, guess what? This guy may not be sensitive, but he's really hardworking and he's really reliable. And what we are looking for is a complementarity where maybe I bring in some more sensitivity and this guy gets all the jobs done around the house, right? So to demand of males that they show the same sensitivities as women without also demanding that women then show all the same qualities that men have, something's wrong here.
There is. And also on top of that, there's and he has to make 6 figures.
Right. Same thing. Same idea.
Yeah.
This is exactly right. Let's talk about Bruce Springsteen because a lot of people were very outraged when Trump posted that Bruce Springsteen is a failure. And Trump goes, not only is he a horrible singer, but he is also got all kinds of skin problems. I mean, it was just very Trump, right? Trump has to go there, as you say. He has to go there.
Yeah.
But you found an interesting article about Bruce Springsteen, which distinguishes Bruce Springsteen from a lot of Hollywood people that we know as left-wing. So let's take, for example, Jack Nicholson is left-wing. Okay, Robert De Niro is left-wing. But guess what? Robert De Niro's art is not left-wing, right? Look at the roles he plays. Even in roles where he plays like he's the father of the bride, or he's he's in Meet the Fockers, or he's in The Godfather, the gangster movies. He plays roles that, I don't know if you could quite classify them politically, but they're right of center. But Robert De Niro is very left-wing. But the point that you're making about Springsteen, and this article shows that it is true. His music is left-wing.
Always has been.
And always has been.
Always has been. It says that, his lyrical view of America has long included politics, left-wing politics. In fact, they say that even Born in the USA is not what the anthem that people think it is.
Yeah, people think it's Born in the USA, so the USA is the greatest. But if you listen to the lyrics, that is not the point.
It is not.
Right? The point is the song is being sung by a guy who is a Vietnam vet. He comes back. He has no job prospects. He has no future. And he's saying this ironically, like, hey, I'm born in the USA.
Exactly. What's going on?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it is a protest against America, right? And the article goes on to analyze a bunch of songs, including songs I don't know. There's My Hometown. There's The Ghost of Tom Joad. The Rising, Jack of All Trades, Galveston Bay.
American Skin.
American Skin.
Yeah, it says, no secret, my friend, you can get killed just for living in your American skin.
Oh, so there's probably an allusion to the racial
That's right.
motive.
Police killing.
Yeah, police
Yes.
killings.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Uh-huh.
Mocking capitalism, mocking the United States as a kind of warfare state.
I mean, look,
Um,
I don't know why I ever paid for a ticket to go watch this guy sing. I mean,
well,
I did. I went to a concert back in 1980. I want to say 87. That's when I went to hear him. I was like jamming away, not really paying attention to the lyrics, of
well,
course.
that's because you're a musical person
Yeah.
and you pay attention to sound
Right.
and not
Yep.
even to words. In fact, isn't it funny? You would tell me how you would sing. And some of these songs have kind of a bit of a sexual component, but you were like 13 years old and you're like, I didn't even pick up on that.
Oh, yeah. There were
right?
a lot of, yeah.
Like Baby It's Cold Outside
Yeah.
or all
No,
kinds
no,
of
no.
songs. Was it not that one?
What was the other one? Rock Me All Night Long or whatever. It's
Right.
like, oh yeah, all night long. What are they doing all night long? I had no idea what they were doing all night long, but I like the song, right?
Right.
But no, I mean, with him, I had no idea that it was so anti-American. I mean, really.
Let's talk about, the reason people get mixed up about Bruce Springsteen is we are accustomed today to a leftist
Mm-hmm.
who looks like Trotsky. Has the Trotsky glasses, got a little beard, he's a little weirdo, he dresses like a bohemian, he's a freak, or purple hair. Now, Bruce Springsteen dresses like working class, right? He dresses like he's a coal miner, or he dresses like he's a construction worker. Now, we have to remember that if we go back in American history to the 30s and 40s, there was a working class communist movement in this country, very large and very powerful.
Yeah.
And these were, again, people who had their faces black from coming out of a mine, and yet they were voting not even for FDR. They're voting for Wallace, so they're voting for the Communist Party
USA.
and all of this came a lot, I think, out of the Great Depression and the belief that capitalism had completely failed. So this appears to be Bruce Springsteen's real pedigree. He is, in fact, people say he's not working class because he makes all this money, but he is echoing that working class style. And
well, he's a communist.
And
I mean,
and he's close to being a communist, right?
No,
if not
for
an
sure.
outright communist.
I think he's an outright communist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so no surprise.
I think he should write a new song about how great communism is, and then go, oh wait.
But see, he's in a way
that could be the chorus. Oh wait, what am I saying?
What am I saying? Well, I have to say he is pretty cunning, and by that I mean he does not put the politics so explicit. Think of it. You'd have a song, and it's called "Born in the USA." It's almost like it is a song designed to deceive.
Oh,
right?
for sure.
Because the ordinary guy, born, let's say you're eating in a diner, born in the USA, like, yeah, born in the USA, but that's not what he means.
Yeah.
It's almost like pay attention, read between the lines, look at what the song is really saying, but most people don't do that.
Yeah.
And so Bruce Springsteen, what he does is he has the left-wing message, but he also gets to pose as this kind of all-American patriot.
That's right.
He has it both
That's
ways.
right. Now, I used to sing, I wasn't born, because I would do the I wasn't, because I wasn't.
Because you weren't. That's right. There you go. There's been a national focus on eating only the healthiest foods, and that's good news. Good news for you, but great news for Balance of Nature. Their method of producing a vibrant nutritional supplement is second to none. While so many others use chemicals, additives, Balance of Nature is made solely from whole food ingredients, fruits and veggies in a capsule. Take a look. This is what it looks like. This is it. Now, while other methods sacrifice nutritional quality for the sake of profits and volume, Balance of Nature's advanced vacuum cold process involves freeze-drying the fruits and veggies into a fine powder, helping to retain as much nutritional value as possible compared to other inferior methods which cut corners at your expense. Balance of Nature packs a nutritional punch. That's the whole reason for taking Balance of Nature, getting the most nutrition for the sake of your health. Use my discount code AMERICA. You get 35% off plus free shipping and a money-back guarantee. Call 800-246-8751. That's 800-246-8751, or go to balanceofnature.com. When you use discount code AMERICA, you get 35% off. You also get free shipping. As you know, our friend Mike Lindell has a passion to help everyone get the best sleep of your life. And he didn't stop just by creating the best pillow. He also created the best bed sheets ever. They look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me, which is crucial for my busy schedule. Mike is offering the best deal on his Giza Dream bed sheets, any size, any color, just $49.98. That's it. You can get queens, you can get kings, split kings, cal kings, any size, any color, $49.98. Order now because when they're gone, they're gone. Also, for a limited time, when your order is over $100, you get $100 in free digital gifts. Call 800-876-0227. That's 800-876-0227. Use promo code Dinesh, and you'll get the amazing offer, $49.98 on the Giza Dream Sheets, any size, any color. Once again, go to mypillow.com, but don't forget to use the promo code. It's DINESH, Dinesh. Let's go to this article accusing Israel of using human shields.
Oh, yes. It's an AP article.
In Gaza. It's AP, no surprise.
No surprise.
And let's pause to give AP some credit for their left-wing ingenuity, right? Because, and I mean this sort of sarcastically, right? Because think of how clever they are. What AP is saying is, we've all heard about the Palestinians and Hamas having human shields. Have you heard about the Israeli human shields?
That's right.
And let's go on to talk about what these, they're not really human shields.
Right.
What are they talking about? What are these so-called human shields?
So they're talking about the actual terrorists.
Right. So what they're talking, exactly.
Yeah.
So in the case of Hamas, a human shield is when the Israeli soldiers are coming in and you grab your own kid or somebody else's kid and say, listen, if you shoot, you're going to be shooting this kid.
Or on top of a hospital or a daycare.
Exactly. So the human shield is making the innocent people in the hospital the targets.
That's right.
Now, what AP is talking about in their use of human shields is something totally different.
That's right.
The Israelis go into Gaza. Hamas has planted all these mines, all these booby traps. And so what the Israelis do is they're clever too. They go, hey, listen, why don't we get a terrorist and we have the terrorist go ahead? Because if there is a mine, the terrorist is going to be blown up in the mine. It's a Hamas mine.
That's right.
So what we will do is we will teach Hamas a lesson.
That's right.
By using their own bad guys as the front men of our testing operation. Is it safe for us to go here? We'll send Mohammed to go first and we'll find out if it is or not. So the Israelis are engaging in what I would say completely legitimate war tactics,
but
using competence, not innocence.
Let me tell you something else. So when I was talking, remember the sound guy that we were with in Israel?
Yep.
And he is IDF,
right?
Part-time or whatever you
Israeli
call it.
Defense Forces, yeah.
He told me that the reason they have to use these people, these terrorists, is because all of the dogs that they used to use were killed.
Interesting. So they used to have dogs. And
yes.
The dogs kept getting blown up.
They kept getting blown up. Yes.
Because of booby traps and mines.
That's right. And they were like these innocent dogs.
Planted grenades.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, it's like now they use terrorists because they're terrorists. They took part in October 7th. They take part in horrific things with Hamas. And these are not just Palestinian civilians that they pull aside. Hey, Grandma, come here. No. AP did very wrong in reporting something very deceptive.
Yeah, I remember. You remember one of my favorite films, not one of yours, but one of mine. In Breaker Morant, the soldiers fighting in the Boer War, they take Boer captives, and because the Boers are blowing up trains, they put the Boer captives in open train compartments, right? Why? Because then the Boers soon realized we're going to be blowing up our own people, and they stopped doing it. They stopped the guerrilla attacks on the train. So it's a very clever military strategy, and I don't see anything in it that violates the precepts of the just war, right? Because let's look at the precepts of the just war. Number one, you cannot deliberately target civilians.
Which Hamas does.
And Israel does not.
Exactly.
this is not to say that if you launch attacks on military targets and civilians are killed in the process, that's collateral damage. That is, in fact, allowed under the just war because you're not deliberately targeting the civilians. I think that's a key. What AP is doing here is they're trying to obfuscate that key difference, right? Isn't that
it's 100% what they're doing. And they're making it sound as though Israel, the IDF, is getting actual civilians off the street and using them as human shields. That's what they are trying to say, which is completely false.
Completely false. Let's talk about Mr. Derek Chauvin.
Oh, yes. So I told you that I just came upon this
let me give it to you. This is
I came upon this tweet.
It's such an interesting tweet. I think you should just read it.
Yeah. So basically there was a picture of Chauvin.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, do you think Chauvin, am I saying his name right?
Derek Chauvin. I think it's Chauvin, not Chauvin. Chauvin. Yeah.
Do you think he should be let out or
let's give a little background here. So Trump has actually been pardoning a bunch of people who have been, in his view, like wrongly treated by the judicial process. And so there's now a kind of MAGA campaign on social media. Well, what about Derek Chauvin, right?
Okay.
Now, included in this list are the Whitmer kidnapping guys, Adam Fox, and I guess Barry Croft is the other guy. I think those guys should definitely be pardoned. They were framed, without a doubt. The Chauvin situation has led to a bunch of people saying Chauvin did nothing wrong. Chauvin was just did what the police are supposed to do. Chauvin was acting in line with the manual. And so Chauvin is completely a victim of police framing in the same way as, say, Adam Fox and Barry Croft. I don't actually agree with that, but this is a very interesting post you're about to read that, in a sense, identifies Chauvin and George Floyd both as bad guys. Let's hear it.
So this is from someone named The Black Opinion. It's at opinion_black.
Okay.
I don't
you
even
don't know who it is, and I don't know the account either. We're just talking about the content.
Right. So Derek Chauvin should never have been a police officer. That much is clear. He was a violent narcissist and a danger to black men. To place your knee on any prostrate man's neck for such a period of time and not respond when that man says he can't breathe shows your pathology. However, this lionization, used as a verb in quotation marks, of George Floyd is also pretty stomach churning. He was not a Dr. Martin Luther King, a Malcolm X, or a Marcus Garvey. A few months before his death, he placed a loaded gun into the stomach of a pregnant black woman. He was also a degenerate drug abuser. For the liberal lefties, both black and white, to foist this SOB up as a hero is gaslighting taken to an extreme. Chauvin is a poo-poo house, and so was George Floyd. They found each other because both operated on the same negative frequency.
Yeah, this is, I think, the very provocative statement here.
I've never heard anyone actually.
Yeah, we need to analyze this a little bit more closely. Yeah. So, on the first part of it, let's talk about Chauvin. He should never have been a police officer. Now, as you know, the medical examiner did an autopsy on Floyd and said he was not killed by Chauvin. He was killed because of all the drugs in his body and all the other problems that he had. So essentially, Chauvin's pressure to his throat did not kill him. That being said, Chauvin didn't know that, right? Chauvin applied the pressure anyway, right? You and I have watched the video, as have most people. But if you watch the video, you can see for the first 5 seconds it is a way of subduing somebody, because think about it. There's certain parts of your body, when you put pressure, the person submits immediately. George Floyd did not submit, right? And so Chauvin, like for an uncomfortably long period of time, keeps his knee on this guy's neck or near his neck. Maybe it wasn't flat on his neck. Maybe it was sandwiched between his shoulder and his neck. But a number of times, not only Floyd, but I think even around him is like, this guy can't breathe. So just out of prudence, I think a normal person would have
let go
and maybe twisted his arms around his back and put his handcuffs
Yeah.
on, put him back in the car. But
I don't think at that point he posed a danger.
No.
Yeah.
And now look, we should be careful even in saying that, because we have seen other cases where somebody is riddled with drugs and they freak out and they not only charge, but even after you start shooting them,
Yeah.
they're still charging at
They're
you.
they're like
So,
the Terminator.
Yeah,
Right?
so this is what cops deal with, and we have to
Yeah.
keep that in mind. So for
Yeah.
all these reasons, I would have given Chauvin the benefit of the doubt,
Mm-hmm.
but this is not to say that he should not be disciplined, and this
Mhm.
guy may even be right.
Mm-hmm.
He really doesn't belong in the police force,
Mhm.
because look, the thing about the police force is that you have people who I think to some degree are attracted by power, because
Mm-hmm.
think of it, why do you want to be a policeman?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like, why do you want to be in the military, right? Now,
Mhm.
you could say I want to be in the military for scholarships and so on, and patriotism, and I think those are two motives. But a third motive is I want to be in the military because I like to fight. I like to have guns. I
Mhm.
like to use guns.
Yeah.
So
I think that's the minor component, to be honest,
of using guns,
of the military.
of wanting to use a gun.
Well, I think they go into it because of patriotism. Why else would you want to?
I mean, when I was a
for your
kid,
country?
when I was a kid, I loved guns,
Yeah.
and I thought of myself going into the military because I
Oh,
wanted to
no,
shoot the
you did
guns.
not.
Of course I did.
No.
All boys do. Every boy gives
You-
some thought to
You
shooting
thought,
guns.
I'm going to become a chess champion. That's
No,
what you thought.
I know, but of course I did. But of course I did. But what I'm saying is, what I'm getting at is that a motive for being a cop, just
Yeah.
coming back to
Yep,
cops
yep.
here, I think, is that you are a figure in
A little
authority.
bit.
I mean, if a cop pulls
Well-
you over, and why do you think the cop sits in his car for 5 full
I don't know,
minutes?
but I've been pulled over numerous times, as you know, way more than you have, right?
Yep.
One time, I'm sorry, I tend to go a little fast. One time I was pulled over, and I was honest, right? He's this motorcycle cop. He comes up to me. He goes, "Do you know how fast you were going?" And I go, "Yes, sir." "Why were you going so fast?" And it was a school zone. I was a teacher, and I was coming out of the parking lot. So, I mean, hello, right? I
Right.
couldn't lie. I go, "Well, I'm late to my massage."
Excellent.
Only because it was my
I'm-
birthday. It was my birthday gift to myself. I was getting a massage, and I was late. And so he goes, He goes back to the motorcycle, like you say, takes forever, comes back. He gives me the ticket, and he says, "Happy birthday."
So he didn't let you off.
Oh, no. But, I mean, really? Really? And then I'm like, "I know the mayor. I'm going to tell him about you." I was so upset. But again, it's one of those things. But I also have met a lot of really amazing cops.
Oh, I mean,
So-
you
and I
you
have a
have
lot of
to.
good friends that are cops.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
of course our good friend Troy
Of course,
Nels
he was the sheriff
the
of our-
sheriff, the
Yeah, yeah.
constable, is now the congressman
Yeah.
from
He was
Sugarland,
amazing.
Texas. Amazing.
Yep.
And you have to admire people who are willing to take that kind of personal risk.
Yep. Oh,
You have
for
to admire
sure,
their
for sure.
families.
I mean, really, I posed no threat to this person, so I think he was like, "Yeah, she's an easy one," I mean,
Yeah, but other times at night you pull someone over, you don't know what
you
you're
don't
walking
know.
into.
I'm sure the adrenaline is going. I'm sure that, I can't even imagine. They go through a lot.
Now, I think the reason that people are taking the Chauvin side here is partly because they are so disgusted at this cult of George Floyd. I mean, this went so out of control.
Yeah.
Think of it. It refreshed my memory. There was a little video of the mayor of Minneapolis, this guy named Frey, F-R-E-Y, and he comes to the casket and he starts bawling.
Is this the one that was dancing with BLM?
It might have been, but this is a guy who pretends is the right word here. He pretends to be so overcome by emotion that he starts weeping as if it is his own wife who's in the casket.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, we all know about Schumer and Pelosi, the big kneeling ceremony.
Yeah.
All of this nonsense that occurred. It's almost like there was a national intoxication of sorts.
Yeah, but
that
it was
happened.
all. But now looking back, you know that it was all orchestrated.
All orchestrated.
BLM was part of a Marxist organization who
And then
really,
they were collecting money left and right
Yeah.
from all these stupid corporations.
The same BLM people, the same incestuous pool of people, are the same ones driving the Free Hamas or Free Palestine.
Yeah.
It's the same group of people. It's just now it's that. Before it was BLM.
It's almost
Now
like
it's
these
this.
guys, they are the people of the revolving placard.
That's right.
They have Hamas placards over here.
Yeah.
They have trans placards
right.
over there, and they have BLM over here. And it's just it's Tuesday. Which one are we going
Right,
to? Right. And
right.
so when one cause
Yeah.
comes to the forefront, they're there.
I kind of just roll my eyes now because
It's the same people.
It's so predictable. So predictable.
Okay, let's
Yeah.
close out by talking about this interesting article that you showed me.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
from borderreport.com. It says, assassins disguised as nurses
Oh.
finish off woman inside Tijuana ER. So, I mean, just think about I can just visualize the scene. You have two hitmen. They're disguised as nurses. They sneak into the Tijuana General Hospital, and they had apparently tried to kill this woman, and she was injured. She was hospitalized, and then
she was on a gurney.
She was on a gurney. And then she goes to the hospital, and these guys sneak their way in in nurse camouflage, in effect.
Yeah.
And we were thinking about this because here's what it says. It says the woman is evidently like a house cleaner, right? She's a single mother. She cleans houses for a living. So this is clearly not like the Mexican mafia. She's not a drug dealer. So what do you think's going on?
Yeah. Well,
Why go to that trouble?
I don't know. I mean, either like maybe she broke up with the guy, but I mean that's a little extreme, don't you think? For that?
No. Well,
I
when I say no, I mean yes. I do think it's extreme. I don't think it's appropriate
Let me
behavior.
dress-
No.
Let me dress as a nurse. Go in and just finish her
No.
off.
What I'm getting at
But-
is if you. There are people who are a little nuts, admittedly, but if
Yeah.
you offend, if you insult them in a certain way,
The machismo.
that their pride, that's
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
they will go to the ends of the earth,
Yeah.
right? So that's what I'm talking about.
I can't imagine that it was anything other than a domestic dispute. I can't imagine because again, she had no money.
No political
She was a
or
maid,
financial
no
motive.
political motive. So it had to be that. But it's just really interesting to me that these people in Mexico, and this is why I feel like Mexico is extremely dangerous. These people just can go into a hospital, dress up like
Evidently,
staff.
nobody stopped them,
Yeah,
and they were armed.
Right. I mean, they were armed. They go in there, they finish off a patient, and then they walk out. And it doesn't say if they were even arrested
I don't think
or
they
apprehended.
were. I don't think they were.
So it's like, okay, you can't do that here and get away with it. I mean, I don't.
Surveillance, security,
No.
that's right.
So the fact that you can do that in Mexico is extremely disturbing on so many levels because you don't know if these people were cartel. You don't know if they were just normal folk. I mean, I don't know, but it was such a disturbing...
It was an intriguing story, which is why we've been talking about it.
Subscribe to the Dinesh D'Souza podcast on Apple, Google, and Spotify, or watch on Rumble, YouTube, and SalemNow.com.